Hey everyone, welcome to Vacation Bible School 2020. I am Kristen Fluke. I'm the Youth and Children's Ministry Director at St. Peter Lutheran Church in Greene, and I am super excited that all of you are here joining us for Bible School this year. Well, maybe you're not here, are you? As you can tell, we're doing things a little bit differently this year. Unfortunately, we did not feel comfortable gathering all together in one space. So instead of that, we've decided that we are going to take VBS out of the church building and move it to your backyard. So our theme for this week is called God's Big Backyard, and it fits really well with that. And I know that the last few months have been pretty strange. We've been spending a lot more time at home, a lot less time seeing other people. It's definitely been a crazy few months. And so we hope that this week and this theme will help you remember that even though we are spending the week apart, that we are all connected as a part of God's big family. And so I want to read you our theme verse for the week. It comes from Psalm 24, verse 1. And it says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to the Lord." I'm going to read that one more time. "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. The world and all its people belong to the Lord." So this verse helps us remember that because we know God created the world, God created everything in the world, that means that we are all a part of God's family and we all get to live together and hang out in God's gigantic backyard that is the world that we live in, which is really, really cool. So this week, as you hopefully know, we have given you a packet of a whole bunch of fun activities to do that you can do from your house. Maybe spend some time in your own backyard exploring God's creation. But there's lots of fun stuff for you to do each day, and we'll have a different theme for each one of those days. Also, as you know, because you're watching the first one right now, every day we're going to post a video that shares our Bible story for the day, as well as a couple of songs. Speaking of songs, let's sing our first song for the week, which is our theme song, which is, I bet you can guess the title, God's Big Backyard. So we're gonna sing God's Big Backyard. The words will be on your screen, and we have some awesome youth helpers doing motions to all of our songs this week. So you can try to sing along, do the motions. Let's sing God's Big Backyard.
Yo, let's do this.
Helping out a neighbor and lending a hand, building up a sister or brother. All the world around is God's big backyard, and there's plenty of room when we're loving each other. Whoa, whoa, it's a big backyard. Yeah, yeah, really big backyard.
Yeah.
Everybody's serving and doing their part in God's big, 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 big backyard. God's big, 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 big backyard.
Can you say hey?
Always loving Jesus with all of my heart, serving friends and family, trying to make a difference by doing my part, sharing His love so all the world can see. Oh, oh, it's a big backyard, yeah, yeah, really big backyard. Everybody's serving and doing their part in God's big, 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 big backyard. In God's big, 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 big backyard.
Hey yo, it's a big backyard. Hey yo, a really big backyard. Everybody's serving here and doing their part, and we all get together in this big backyard. Everybody!
Learning about serving by reading God's Word, finding things that will help us grow. Gotta get the message to all of our friends, so take my hand and let's go, go, go. Oh, oh, it's a big backyard. Yeah, yeah, a really big backyard. Everybody's serving and doing their part in God's big, 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 big backyard. In God's big, big, big,
Great job singing, everybody. We will sing that song at least a couple more times this week, but one of the cool things about these videos is that you can go back and listen to the music again and again and again as many times as you want. So that's really cool. I mentioned before we sang that each of our days this week, we're gonna have a different theme. And so to kick off our week here in God's Big Backyard, our theme for today is climb a tree. Now, I am not much of a tree climber myself, but did you know that there is a story in the Bible about a man climbing a tree? Fun fact for the day. So we are going to check in with our Bible storyteller for the week. Her name is Sydney. She's going to tell us our Bible story every day. So Sydney is going to tell us all about this crazy tree climbing man.
Hi everyone. Our first Bible story as we kick off our week in God's Big Backyard is about a man a lot of people didn't like. They called him a sinner, which is kind of a funny reason not to like someone because aren't we all sinners? Don't we all make mistakes and do things we shouldn't do sometimes? The story starts with Jesus entering a town called Jericho. By this point in Jesus' life, he was already busy traveling from place to place, teaching about God and performing many miracles. The word was spreading quickly about Jesus and all the amazing things he was doing and saying. He was becoming pretty famous. And it was common when Jesus came to a new place for people to rush to see him. I mean, just imagine if a famous person came walking into our town or down your street. Everyone would grab their phones, tell their friends, and pretty soon there'd be a huge crowd gathered. This is how it was when Jesus traveled places. In Jericho, where Jesus was visiting, there lived a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector in the town, and he was very rich. Taxes, for the most part, were a good thing because they helped pay for things like better roads, nice parks, and new schools. The problem is that sometimes the people in charge of collecting the taxes didn't always spend it wisely, or took some of the monies for themselves, which is stealing. That's why the people from Jericho didn't like Zacchaeus very much. He had lots of money and a big fancy house, so the people figured he must have stolen some of the tax money for himself. Anyway, Zacchaeus was working when he heard a commotion outside and realized that Jesus wasn't sound. So he rushed out like everybody else to see him. But when he got to the crowd, he couldn't see anything. He knew Jesus must be in the middle of the crowd somewhere, but there was too many people and he was too short to see over them. Even standing on his tippy toes, he still couldn't manage to see Jesus. When Zacchaeus had an idea. He spotted a tall sycamore tree nearby and decided he would climb it to help him get a better view of Jesus. When Jesus reached the tree and the spot where Zacchaeus was, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down right away. I'm going to have dinner at your house today." This is so cool, Zacchaeus must have been thinking. First off, Jesus, this famous guy, knew Zacchaeus' name and that he was up in the tree. Plus, Jesus didn't seem to care that other people didn't like Zacchaeus. He wanted to visit him anyway. So of course, Zacchaeus climbed down right away and welcomed Jesus in. But there was lots of people in the crowd who didn't think that was such a good idea. They shook their heads and grumbled to one another. Jesus has gone to the guest of a sinner. I'm sure they both heard the people in the crowd grumbling. But Zacchaeus did not care. He shouted, "Look, Jesus, I promise I will give half of my money to the poor. And if I have cheated or stolen anything from anybody, I will give them back 4 times that amount." This means if Zacchaeus owed someone $1, he would give them $4 instead. When Jesus heard this, he said, "Today salvation has come into this house, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." Jesus knew that Zacchaeus had done some very bad things by stealing money from people. But he also knew that, even though other people didn't think Zacchaeus was a very good person, Jesus still loved him and forgave him of those sins. And we know Jesus loves us and forgives us when we make mistakes too. Zacchaeus had a change of heart and asked God for help to make better choices. And God wants us to do the same.
Thanks, Sydney, for sharing that great story with us. It's one of my favorites. Quick side note, some of you may already know this, but fun fact, Pastor Daniel and I have a dog, and his name is Zacchaeus. And the reason that we named him that, if you look at his picture, you might be able to tell, because he's really, really short. And right, we heard the story about Zacchaeus, and he's a short little dude. So there you go. We even named our dog after Zacchaeus. So now that we've heard the story of Zacchaeus, we're going to teach you a song about Zacchaeus. And some of you may already know this song. It's a pretty popular one. Some of your parents and your grandparents, I bet, know this one too. It's a cool song. So here we go. Zacchaeus was a wee little man.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree. And he said, Zacchaeus, you come down. For I'm going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today.
Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Savior passed that way, he looked up in the tree. And he said, Zacchaeus, you come down. For I'm going to your house today. For I'm going to your house today.
Good job, friends. That's a fun song, isn't it? So again, today our theme is climb a tree. And so we heard the story of Zacchaeus, how Zacchaeus climbed up to the top of the tree so that he could see Jesus. We heard about Jesus walking by and saying, hey, Zacchaeus, come on down. I'm gonna go to your house. And as they were going, right, the people started to grumble and complain and said, why would Jesus want to hang out with Zacchaeus? He's not a very nice guy. He takes all of our money. He makes himself rich. He doesn't share, right? He's not very nice. Why would Jesus want to hang out with him? And Jesus, at the end of that story, says what we are making our theme verse for today, because it's a pretty important verse. Jesus says, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. And so Zacchaeus realized when he spent time with Jesus that he was doing things that he shouldn't, right? He had made some mistakes. He was not being very nice to people. But he promised to do better. He promised to give back the money that he took, and to give back even more money than he took to repay the people. And Jesus forgave him of the mistakes that he made. And Jesus forgives us when we make mistakes too, right? Maybe you don't steal money from people and have a big fancy house because you take all the money. But I bet you can think of some things that you have said or done that you know you shouldn't have, right? It happens. We all do it. It's called sin. But just like Jesus helped Zacchaeus to realize that he had made some bad choices and forgave him for those choices, Jesus promises to forgive us when we sin too. And so our last song that I want to teach you this morning is called Fiwa, which is kind of funny sounding because it's in a different language. And so here are the words, and when you do it, when we get to this part in the video, you'll see it in the motions. We're gonna paddle like you're paddling a boat. Okay? So we're gonna go Fiwa, Fiwa, hot and high. And you're gonna go one way. And then you're gonna switch. And we're gonna paddle the other way. Fiwa, Fiwa, Kiwa ho. Okay? So, and what the words mean in that song are to paddle away from the darkness, to get away from all that bad stuff that we do, all those yucky sins that keep us from Jesus. Paddle away from the darkness and paddle towards the light, the way that we know Jesus wants us to go, the way that helps us to love God and to love other people. So we're gonna paddle away from the darkness and paddle towards the light, towards Jesus. And the rest of the song is talking about that no matter what we do, as long as we're with Jesus, we're doing all right. So we're gonna do some fun things like sing a song, do a little dance for Jesus, say a prayer. But join me as we paddle away from the darkness, paddle towards the light. Biwa. Sing a little song for for Jesus, you'll be right. Sing a little song for Jesus, you'll be right. Oh, fi-wa, ha tonight. Fi-wa, ki-wa, ho. Sing a little song for Jesus, you'll be right. Do a little dance for Jesus, you'll be right. Do a little dance for Jesus, you'll be right. Oh, fi-wa, ha tonight. Fi-wa, ki-wa, ho. Do a little dance for Jesus, you'll be right. Say a little prayer for Jesus, you'll be right. Say a little prayer for Jesus, you'll be right. Oh, fi-wa, ha tonight. Fi-wa, ki-wa, ho. Say a little prayer for Jesus, you'll be right. Climb a tree for Jesus, you'll be right. Climb a tree for Jesus, you'll be right. Oh, fi-wa, ha tonight. Fi-wa, ki-wa, ho. Climb a tree for Jesus, you'll be right. Great job paddling those boats. Woohoo, you rock. We will do that song again, and we'll add even some more fun verses later in the week. So keep that one in your head. Thank you for joining me for our first video. I hope that you have a super awesome fun day hanging out in God's big backyard with all of the fun activities. We've got a craft project for you and a nature project. And so I just hope that you have an awesome day, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.